This video is a demonstration of how to set up an ADFS relying party for use in an Alpha Anywhere application. The relying party can be used by any application, but for this specific case, we're going to show you how to use it within an Alpha Anywhere application. This video assumes that you've already enabled federated authentication within your Alpha Anywhere application and already have, as you can see here, a federated authentication management page based on the template, UX template provided with Alpha Anywhere. So now I'm going to switch to the machine that has Active Directory Federation services installed on it. In this case, it's my my test domain controller. If you don't have Active Directory Federation services installed on it, install it. Then when you come in here, check that Windows authentication is enabled for intranet. This will allow you to do integrated Windows authentication, making it so that the user is not prompted for a password. They'll use Windows credentials or their Active Directory identity instead. Now, by default, some browsers are not allowed to do Windows integrated authentication. For instance, if you use a Chrome browser, that won't be enabled by default. That setting is listed and can be changed using PowerShell script. And you can use this PowerShell command, get ADFS properties, to view the properties, and the one in particular for allowing a browser to participate in Windows integrated authentication is WIA supported user agents. And this are a list of user agents. That's a header sent by browsers or any other client that identify the client to the server. In here, I've added Windows, NT, and Chrome, as well as a couple of Mozilla agents to allow them to participate in Windows integrated authentication. This equal sign and tilde indicate that what follows is a regular expression. These details are also shown in the documentation for setting up a ADSF relying party. So I'm just going to gloss over it here. But that's important because otherwise you'll get the credential prompt instead of being automatically authenticated. So what you'll need to do is go to the relying party trusts node and add a relying party trust. And we do want it to be claims aware. We'll start. The relying party, your application, is not broadcasting or does not have federation metadata available to it. In my test case anyway, does not. So we'll go through the manual process. We can just give this a name, ADFS example relying party. We're not going to specify a token encryption certificate. That would be used to encrypt the package that is sent from the browser from the server to the browser, and then from the browser relayed to the ADFS. Since all that's happening over HTTPS, there's no need to add any additional encryption unless you deem it necessary. But in this case, I'm not going to do that. So here you enable SAML 2.0 Web SSO protocol, and this relying party SAML SSO service URL is the URL into your application that's going to handle the SAML response. Without this being set, you will not be able to use ADFS. So if you already know what your application URL is going to be, enter it here. If not, you'll need to find that out or publish it and find out. So in my case, it's on my local machine. No, I'm going to publish to my clean WS 2012 machine. Oops. Slash devcon 2022 demo and federated authentication E5W. So the default name of the page that handles SAML responses is federated authentication.e5w. You would have already seen that when you've enabled federated authentication within your Alpha Anywhere application. And the rest of this is just where the application gets published. I'm publishing to a machine called CleanWS 2012 in a subfolder DevCon 2022 demo. And now this is an identifier within this ADFS to uniquely identify this configuration. ADFS. It could be anything. Their example here is a URL. Whatever you choose, that value will be needed in the Alpha Anywhere configuration. I'm going to permit everyone at this time. And here you can review the values that were set. I'll continue. And now that's been created, and now need to configure the claims issuance policy. These are the data that is sent along with the response. For instance, the username, roles, email address of a user. And that dialog gets put behind the main widget. So you add a rule. I'm going to send LDAP attributes as claims. You can send group membership as a claim, and in this case, you could to send group membership as claims. You can map the Active Directory groups to your application group names on the ADFS side. I'm choosing to do that on the Alpha Anywhere side instead. I'll do the mapping there. Let's see. We'll call this Alpha Anywhere data. The attribute store is Active Directory. And I'll start off with the the SAM account name. SAM account name. So SAM and SAML are similar, but the SAM account name is the Active Directory account name. And I'm going to put this as the name ID. So that's going to be known as the SAML subject. And it's the subject being the entity being authenticated. Next, I'm going to add the email address, and I'll be mapping that to email address. Next, I'm going to use the groups. So I'm going to use token groups qualified by domain name, and that's going to be mapped to groups. So these claim types, there are SAML standard attribute names of these claim types, and that's so it's not going to be listed as group within the claim, but there's a longer attribute name we'll see later. And finally, I'm going to also include the user principal name. Finish, apply, save, and that should be it. Now, in order to use this, we'll need to go back to Alpha Anywhere and create a configuration. Let's see, sample ADFS engineering. I'll make it active. And here's where we need the relying party ID. And let's see, I used ADFS RP trust. I will call this tenant ID default ADFS engineering. Go down to the identity provider. I do want to use the metadata URL. Fortunately, ADFS doesn't make this as simple to do. I need to enter this manually. Engineering dc.engineering alphasoftware.com/ and I'm going to review that value back here at endpoints. Metadata, so Federation metadata 2007-06 Federation metadata.xml. See if I can remember all that. Federation metadata 2007-06/Federation metadata.xml. Let's see if I got it right. So download that data, and that was successful. So I did type it right. You can take a look at some of the data that was downloaded. And I'm not going to monitor the identity provider metadata, although you typically would want to monitor that because the signing certificate will typically change and be rotated on a time period. Let's see. Here I mentioned there are some standard SAML attribute names. So in the SAML response is an XML document, and these attributes are names of here's the SAML subject, the names, the email address. We'll keep these as they are for now. There's no need to change them for the purpose of this example. I did include the groups, and I want to use the groups within the SAML response. So those claims are going to be listed with this attribute name. This is a default name. You can put other attribute names in here if needed, or change it altogether. Well, this is interesting. How is this? Okay, well, I already have a mapping in here of engineering development. that's one of the Active Directory group names, and I'm mapping that to, let's see, I'll edit this, to the administrators group. These are the groups that are um, that the applications have, that the Alpha Anywhere application have administrators, data entry, report runners, and I just mapped it to this one group. If needed, if there are some groups, like if you're in development, you want to be, well, the administrator has these other groups in this in application. But if these were mutually exclusive, you could have more than one group mapped to a single identity provider group. Um, and I will save that and now synchronize to completely save it. And now, again, for the purposes of this example, the application has a hard-coded tenant ID that it will use uh, for doing SAML authentication. And in this case, it's default ADFS engineering. I think I set that already in this. Oh, I have it backwards here, so I have to fix this. ADFS engineering. Uh, so uh, when the federated authentication page is loaded and someone is not authenticated, it's going to look up what configuration should be used, and it uses um, this XBasic module to do that. So hopefully it can be flexible enough for you to determine um, what you want to use within the application, especially if you're using a SaaS application that's multi-tenant. Okay, and now I will publish this application. I'm publishing this for two reasons. I'm assuming that it hasn't been published before, and I've changed the tenant XBasic module. Uh, so that's something that's hard coded in the application, so that would need to be updated. I deleted the application um, on the server to make sure I had um, a clean publish. So I'm going to make sure all files get published. Um, and I won't be able to launch from here because this machine that I'm on right now is not within the domain. So I want to do a proper demonstration. The build on the server is a little bit older, but that should work. Actually, it might not work, so I might need to do some I might need to do some post-production editing here. Let's see. I'll visit that site. I probably have it in here. I do. We'll go to it, and there, there we have it. There's my user. Wasn't prompted for credentials. It shows the groups. Um, these groups are Active Directory groups, except for the end one, which was one that I mapped in the federated authentication configuration. in Alpha Anywhere, I map that to administrators in the application. And um, these are actually security buttons with security set on them. Admins and data entry, admins and report runners, and all users. So it's actually validating against this or authorizing against this list of groups. And that's it. Thank you.